Hey! I should probably drink this entire bottle, huh? Ah! What? I'm a monster! What is this flesh prison? What happened? Oh. Really? All right, let's do some good news. But maybe this isn't so bad. I mean, this show can be a real stick in the mud, like most of the time. And it's summer, and people are happy-ish, and we all deserve a little break from the searing waft coming from the toxic trash fire that is all of America. So let's do this. Here's some good news. And not just any good news, but random feel-good news stories designed to futilely inject false hope into your frosty and calloused heart. Perfect. That is perfect. Let's warm up with a grab bag of nice things that happen to be recent. So what do we got? Can we see some funny but uplifting clips, perhaps of animals? Hey, look at all them goats. That's the Ventura County Fire Department releasing an army of satanic avatars to happily snack on the dry brush in the area, thus preventing forest fires. We did it! We showed you some uplifting news. Can we Photoshop a goat with a little fireman's hat to celebrate? There better f***ing be a goat with a little fireman's hat in the corner. Anyway, great start. We're greased up, lots of energy, big smiles. I'm starting to feel better already. I think we're ready to venture into more complex territory, more uplifting in a humanity isn't totally doomed sort of way. Maybe something about space. And since I know what's going to happen because this was all pre-written, I'm going to predict that it's about the moon. Totally called it. That's right. By 2024, NASA has been tasked with putting a woman on the moon. This is good news in terms of space equality, but also a confirmation that we finally figured out a way to kill all the rock spiders inhabiting Earth's natural satellite. Spoilers for the documentary Apollo 18. Speaking of, the new missions will be named Artemis, sister of Apollo and goddess of the moon. Solid branding. And will begin in 2020 with a trip around the moon before finally touching down a few years later. The eventual plan is to establish an actual sustainable station on the moon's surface, like a moon clubhouse. And you know, while there's clearly a lot of work we still need to do on this planet, we are long overdue for some kind of fancy lunar base with helper robots and cool rovers and dystopian clones. You know, like that really good moon movie. What was it called? That really good movie on the moon with a robot played by now disgraced actor and a rover crash and a plot twist where the main character was a clone and it all took place on the moon. What was it called? That's the one. Great moon movie. But also, the goal of another moon landing isn't simply the grandstanding of humanity, which we should. Humans, we will stand very grandly. But also, it shouldn't just be like a political ploy by whoever is currently in power. It's easy to forget that we don't just golf up there, but also learn important science stuff. Like, we're still not entirely certain how the moon came to be. We have some awesome theories, but it would be cool to actually know for sure. Also, there might be some water up there, and we're gonna really need some extra water in the next few decades because of all the catastrophes we're not fixing on Earth. Sorry, I made it depressing. We got so close, and then I made it depressing. Okay, so maybe we need to bring back some goddamn animals into the mix, but like a cute way that also reminds us of our own mortality. Like, it can't be too positive, or else my body will reject it. People love cats, right? How about a quick segment called Cat Survives, where we look at all the crazy recent ways cats have survived their own perils before learning absolutely nothing from the mishap. Here's a cat that got stuck in a garage door because it decided to climb up and fall asleep on it while it was still open. The cat is fine and has learned nothing. Here's a kitten that traveled for 40 miles inside of the bonnet, you British f***s, of a car. They had to dismantle the vehicle to get it out. The cat is fine and has learned nothing. How about this cat that snuck into a washing machine, rode out the entire wash cycle, and is now doing remarkably well after the experience while having learned nothing? I'm sure it's very clean now, too. Oh, and here's one from last winter, where a cat was found in Montana during the polar vortex frozen solid, only to be thawed out, and is perfectly fine, having learned nothing. That's the moral of this extremely quick segment that I hope you enjoyed, because it's over. That was fun. We've really warmed up. We had a literal save the cat moment. We've talked about space. Now let's try to find order in the chaos, something constructive, possibly repeatable for the future. So here's a segment called People Who Did a Good Thing That More People Should Do. Hey you, do you live in any of these states? You can tell me, it's totally cool if you do. But also, do you live in any of those states, aren't a member of the LGBTQ community, but also support LGBTQ rights? If your answer is yes, then maybe you should say or do something to show support, you lazy bum. Because according to the Human Rights Campaign, those are the states with the biggest hurdles to traverse in order to achieve basic LGBTQ rights. Which is why something like this is kind of cool. That's the truck of Cody Barlow from Oklahoma, a state that is in the bottom percentage of recommended places to start LGBTQ families. Having served with many LGBTQ people in the Navy, Cody, great name, figured he'd make a minimal effort to show support during Pride Month. And you know what? Good for him. Like, I know this isn't a big effort, but it hopefully brightened the day of a few LGBTQ folks, right? Unless he accidentally hit someone with the truck, but damn it, we're being positive, which is why we're going to give this guy an A for effort. But sure, it would be good to show this much support, or any support, during the whole year, and not just Pride Month. And if you specifically live in this state and want to do that, you could totally go to one of the links we just put on the screen right this moment. But still, way to show your support in a state that really needs more open LGBTQ support, Cody. Similarly, the Central United Methodist Church in Knoxville, Tennessee recently hosted its 9th annual Tennessee Diversity Prom. It's yet another state in the really needs improvement category when it comes to human rights, and one of the worst states in terms of LGBTQ harassment of students. And so the purpose of the Diversity Prom is to simply give LGBTQ students a much-needed celebration and night off from worrying about being verbally assaulted by some hate-brained meat hook. Something they, quite frankly, shouldn't have to worry about ever in their lives. This was put on by the Tennessee chapter of GLSEN, which you can support by going to the link we've just posted on the screen. Because, sure, it's not a lot. You know, the big changes are usually the things we can push for on a political or legal level. But there's a lot to say for simply trying to make people feel more welcome and safe on a day-to-day basis, especially in places where that's not as common as it should be. Similarly, but also the opposite, we can also do what we can to non-violently make the lives of bigots a little bit harder. In the town of Ostritz, Germany, the good people were faced with an incoming far-right white supremacist music festival, and in response, the town passed a court-imposed banning order to eliminate alcohol consumption. Then the residents of the town bought out all the neighboring beer and booze in order to ensure that the Nazis didn't have any conceivable way to get plastered. And I doubt that even other Nazis can stand Nazis without taking the edge off a bit. They also launched a competing peace festival during this same time celebrating the local soccer team, hopefully while brazenly hammered. This isn't the first time this town has been forced to ward off Nazis, as the same thing happened last year, with 3,000 supporters joining the locals to tell a similar far-right musical festival to get f***ed. And that's something we don't celebrate nearly enough. The simple act of telling hateful people to eat your entire ass before moving on to better and bigger things. One such individual worthy of our respect is Marijuana Pepsi, a woman with a name that's absolutely, hopefully going to be a real soft drink 10 years from now. Marijuana, who is a black woman, has spent her life in school dealing with criticism of her name, specifically from her white teachers. But she ignored it, refused to change her name, and went on to become Dr. Marijuana Pepsi. Dr. Marijuana also hopefully becoming a soft drink in the future. Her graduation dissertation was titled Black Names in White Classrooms, Teacher Behaviors and Student Perceptions, basically tackling the cultural issue of the shaming head on with the added bonus of telling all her former teachers to get f***ed. And while none of this is a world-changing accomplishment, it's kind of a nice story, you know? About someone who refused to be shamed about who they are. And also, marijuana is actually a really pretty name that we might want to consider naming our kids more. You know, if they don't like it, they can just shorten it to Mary or Juan. but in full, it sounds like a cool wizard name, so support. Also, marijuana is great, like the industry in general. In southern Nevada, they're using that weed money to fight teen homelessness. Same thing happened in Colorado, where they built a homeless shelter with that sweet, sweet tax cash. Another Colorado county is using it for scholarship money. And it has revitalized the economy of several areas. It's not the worst thing to be named after. Unlike, I don't know, Graham. Imagine being named after a bullshit fake cracker like Graham. Get real, guys. It's just a thin cookie. Come on, wake up, sheeple! Okay, who else is awesome? Here's a 12-year-old kid who makes bow ties for shelter dogs to help them get adopted. I mean, that's just common sense thinking right there. I'd much rather have a wicked dapper dog than some tieless piece of shit. Even Barack Obama, who wrote the kid a letter, agrees with me in my specific views on this, I assume, having not read the letter. And you know what? It doesn't just have to be individuals deciding to take some kind of stand or do something nice either. We can certainly recognize the progressive decisions of big companies, stuff like Gillette taking a stand for trans rights and against toxic masculinity. Like, sure, you could argue that it's cynical brand wokeness designed to just make money off that dastardly liberal agenda of basic human compassion, but even if that was true, it probably is, it would mean that supporting trans rights is popular enough that even a heartless corporation considers it a safe way to boost their sales. And if it's popular enough to be profitable, it means we're heading in the right direction, right? Like someone at Gillette clearly ran the numbers and found that supporting transgender rights was popular enough to run an ad about it. Or maybe they didn't give a shit what people thought and wanted to show their support. Either way, this new idea of woke ads isn't affecting their bottom line. And that's good to know. And as an aside, it's also giving people a mainstream voice that might not have had one otherwise. So why not be a little happy about it? I mean, I can't stress enough that no one needs to praise the corporations here, many of which, while doing good in some ways, are still super terrible in other ways. Actions should always speak louder than words, which is why it's also cool to see companies like Bank of America pull their business from private detention centers, or a group of newspapers in Florida partnering together to better report about climate change, or Hollywood Productions pulling their support from anti-abortion states. Or hey, to a much lesser extent, AMC Theaters is about to launch a program designed to specifically keep the indie market afloat. Something that, along with LGBTQ rights and abortion in detention centers, I've certainly harped on about on this show. All good things. Like, I know that for a lot of us, the concepts of not jailing children and trying to save the world and protecting human rights is just common sense. But it's still nice to see the people on the top also agree with us and use their power to steer us in the right direction, even if they're just doing it for publicity or money. But of course, none of that means things are necessarily getting better. That's why we have a whole other segment called, oh hey, look at these things that are slowly getting better. Disclaimer! Saying that some specific problems of the world are getting better does not mean we can stop fighting for those things, nor should we avoid exploring new ways to improve things or criticize the current way we're making progress. But even if we haven't reached the top of the mountain, where all the best sex parties and drugs are, we can still take a moment to appreciate how far we've come, right? As I've already mentioned, LGBTQ rights still have a long way to go, especially in other countries. And especialist in Brazil, a country where the LGBTQ murder rate was at an all-time high in 2018. And if that pisses you off, here are a few LGBTQ organizations tied to Brazil that you can check out and donate to. Definitely go check them out. But what is good news is that their Supreme Court has at least made transphobia and homophobia officially illegal in the country, something they probably should have done a while ago. Another slow but steady win is that Taiwan recently legalized same-sex marriage, which is pretty cool considering that it's now one of only 3 nations in the Asia-Pacific area that has done so. Oh, and hey, this just in. Poverty rates are dropping, like in the world. That's good. Also, kids are dying less. That's pretty neat. Also, less child labor, but not as less as we hoped. Still, all of this is good news, unless you hate children. If that's the case, then I apologize for telling you. Geez, what else? Renewable energy is doing well. It beat out coal this year in terms of producing energy in America. And that shouldn't be a surprise, considering that it's actually cheaper to run a wind farm than maintain a coal plant. The cost of solar power is also declining, and the industry has already begun 2019 with record numbers. It just makes business sense at this point. You don't have to pay nearly as much when the power source is being conjured from the f***ing sky, like some sort of elemental magic. Walmart, GM, and Google are all switching over to cheaper solar and wind energy. There's even a coal plant in India that switched over to solar. Like obviously this isn't going to be a completely smooth transition, but we're heading in the right direction. In Philadelphia, the largest refinery on the East Coast had to be permanently closed down because of a massive fire. While no one died, this is obviously going to cost jobs, which sucks a bunch. But on the flip side, the refinery was a massive source of pollution and is now being discussed as a future place for a renewable plant. It's a tough transition that we still need to figure out, but ultimately, it really needs to happen. Recycling is totally in as well, even if it's just for PR reasons. No company wants to see their cartoon mascot trending on Twitter because it was seen cascading from the gashed belly of a dead whale. And so there's now a push to reinvent the recycling process itself in order to quadruple the recycling rates of plastics. And you bet your sweet fleshy ass that the moment a company nails down biodegradable plastics, that shit will take off. Companies like Colgate are spending years of research to redesign their products to be fully recyclable. Because again, no one wants to see a tube of Crest Max Fresh strangle a baby turtle to death. Especially not Colgate or the turtle. Speaking of, it appears that a bunch of endangered turtles are making a comeback thanks to the Endangered Species Act. There are actually a whole lot of animals that are thankfully returning out from oblivion, some of which thanks to human intervention, like how elephant poaching in the Nyasa Reserve in Africa has gone down to 0. You're welcome, nature! Other times it's actually from human tragedy, like this little endangered bird population that has doubled since Hurricane Sandy. You're welcome, nature? And then there's this so-called lost city in Honduras that was discovered to be the home to a bunch of creatures thought to be extinct. Do we have any footage of the lost city and scientists and creatures interacting?
Put him on the endangered species list.
Yeah! Get 'em! Speaking of big meaty endangered things and Michael Crichton hogwash, scientists at multiple zoos are literally in the middle of saving the white rhino from extinction using cool Jurassic Park magic. So we're like in the future, and may soon, finally, be able to laser kill as many species as we want without the guilt of accidentally wiping them off the planet. And isn't that what this is all about? It's not? Anyway, I think that's enough good news, right? We're making some progress, but still have a long way to go. There's some scary shit still happening in just this country alone. So if you're also worried, I'm gonna just tell you some places you should donate to or volunteer for if you'd like. It's our final segment, good things to throw money at. If you're scared or pissed about what's going on at the border, you can check out Border Angels, a group that provides water and aid to people attempting to immigrate to the U.S. There's also several legal organizations that help families detained at the border, and you can donate to them with the links on the screen right now. Along with what we already put up, here's a bunch of places that support LGBTQ rights and provide legal resources to people in need. All good things that you should check out. And another very important thing to look at are organizations that are helping women in need of safe abortions, especially in states that are stupid restrictive. There's the Yellowhammer Fund for Alabama, the Mississippi Reproductive Freedom Fund, the Gateway Women's Access Fund for Missouri, and ARC Southeast. Also, GoFundMe has launched a fundraising movement specifically for the National Network of Abortion Funds, Planned Parenthood Federation of America, Planned Parenthood Action Fund, American Civil Liberties Union, and the ACLU Foundation, so you can just donate there if you want. And hey, if there's an organization we missed that you really like and want a signal boost, give us a tweet or share it in the comments. In fact, why not make every YouTube comment to this video something positive and constructive? That would really freak out the robots running this site. Also, speaking of GoFundMe, if you have any leftover cash, that bow tie for dogs kid is looking for a few bucks. Or just go adopt a dog, like an old one, and name it Marijuana or Cody. Both great names. Also, we should do every political debate in America with a kitty cat filter like they accidentally did in Pakistan. These are all great ideas, by me, with a little help from this magic bottle of ketamine. Ketamine, I should have. All right. It wasn't ketamine, you freaks. It was Coca-Cola. Classic. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and comment. I hope you enjoyed the good news and hope it's really positive in the comments. Make sure to listen to our podcast, Even More News, and support us on Patreon if you like at patreon.com/somemorenews. You know what? You're beautiful. Have a good day.